Hi everyone, Stilthany Baldtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the self-titled album from Artificial Brain. This is the third full-length LP from New York death metal outfit Artificial Brain. I first came across this band in 2014 through the Colin Marston-produced Labyrinth Constellation, a blistering, discordant, and dynamic technical death metal record with loads of relentless and intense details. Now, sadly, I was not as enthused by the following Infrared Horizon a few years later. I didn't think it was as refreshing upon first listen. There was something kind of off about the volume of the drums in respect to the guitars as well. But I think this self-titled here is hitting upon a more definitive sound for the band, with a heavier mix, more monstrous vocals, more black metal undertones as well coming through on the blast beats and the drums, the chord progressions, the melodies. I would actually go as far as to say some of the riff and melody ideas on this LP, much more than that of the band's previous stuff, are kind of catchy. Celestial Cyst, for example. I love the way the droning chords, melodic bass lines, and echoing lead guitars all coalesce on this one in the intro and the choruses. Not to mention how incredible the drumming is, too. It all sounds like a tech death take on the Super Metroid soundtrack, plus the way the track progresses from these dry and knotty passages to something that sounds so atmospheric it's like it's being beamed from another planet. So there's a versatility to this record that's really great that also shows up on the song A Lofty Grave as well. There are verse sections on this track where the drums and guitars sync up so tightly they're the tightest thing to ever tightly be tight. Yeah, that's my description of it, but I'm just trying to say the performances here are good. So yeah, these sections are sick, but there's still quite a contrast from the full and enveloping wall of shrill black metal chords that vaporize almost as quickly as they came in. The vocals on this cut feature not only these pig-like grunts, but banshee screams too. And there's also this utterly sick and psychedelic computerized guitar solo around the midpoint of the track that adds so much personality to the song too. I can't believe how dense and unforgiving this album sounds sometimes, and yet how many musical ideas still shine and translate through the mayhem. Because there is a clarity to this LP that becomes more and more apparent as I listen to it again and again. The band even manages to make dissonant sounds snappy on highlights like Tome of the Exiled Engineer as well as Parasite Signal, which is maybe the most fiery headbanger on this entire project. But the band's knack for harmony also comes through on the track Embalmed with Magma, where the whole first leg of this track's riffs and chords are laced with these romantic and harmonious black metal melodies, punctuated with some technical transitions to break things up. And as the whole thing progresses, it really becomes a groovy jam with a lot of cool interplay between the drums and guitars. Not so crazy about the sudden ending of the track though. And as long as I'm complaining, I should mention the vocals here, much of which are dominated by this very guttural gurgle style that when it comes to death metal, yes, has a place in the overall DNA and canon, obviously, but personally it's not my favorite style per se. I will say though, Artificial Brain does pull them off really well and does incorporate them into these tracks in such a way to where they don't feel like a really gross novelty. But are they a little overbearing or maybe at odds during the more righteous and epic chord progressions on Cryogenic Dream World? Yeah, kinda. They come off more like a distraction than they are a conduit for the passion radiating off of the guitar work here. Conversely, the enraged screams through Insects and Android Eyes are a nice change of pace, but it's really the edge of your seat chord and groove changes on the song that kind of sell it. Cause I gotta say, the music on this thing really does sell the grandiose and dystopian sci-fi themes strewn about the lyrics. I wouldn't necessarily say the end results here sonically come off cinematic, cause I can't name too many major sci-fi films that kind of use technical death metal as their go-to to set the tone for a scene. But there is something about this album that makes me feel like I am listening to a movie, because the mix on this track is so heavy and there are various instances of very cool imaginative sound play across the song, whether that be with the whammy guitar notes kind of ringing out into oblivion, or the eerie drones, the oddly timed cycling guitar leads and melodies that play throughout the track too. Plus the heavy chords and solo passages on the closing track do sound like a death metal interpretation of a weepy composition that you'd hear during a really slow self-destruction sequence or a planet crumbling into oblivion. So yeah, there is a strong finish to this LP, a strong start too, as the intro track, which is also the title track, which is also named after the band because this is a self-titled album. This may be one of the most ferocious performances the band has ever laid to tape. This will either scare off the faint of heart or make anyone who is utterly mad dying for more. And when you compare the twisted and riff-laced tracks that kick this album off with the more purposeful and tuneful cuts that end the album off, it really does show the band's dynamics and how measured and careful they are with the way they structure the flow of this project. They're not just throwing out any nasty idea that comes to mind in order to see what sticks. This thing is a very sturdy, ambitious, and creative death metal album, which I guess also works as the final installment of a trilogy that includes the past two Artificial Brain records, and it'll be interesting to see where the band goes from here creatively. I should also note this record is reported to be the band's final with their current lyricist, Will Smith, and changing him out will surely be a significant shift in direction for the band from here on out. But as of right now, this thing is incredibly dynamic, it kicks ass, it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's catchy. It's another high-quality extreme metal record in 2022. I'm feeling a light to decent 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What could I or what should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Artificial Brain, forever.